Hi, my name is Jordan. I am a special education teacher from the UK. I share my passion for everything communication, sensory regulation, and fun lesson ideas for my classroom of disabled pupils aged 4 to 11. Each week, I am joined by experts in the field, answering your questions and sharing our knowledge and experience working alongside our beautiful young people. Let's get started. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sensory Classroom podcast. My name is Jordan, and today I'm joined by Marissa Webb, speech and language therapist, and we're going to talk about AAC and total communication today. Hi, Marissa.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. I am so excited to have you. We've been chatting in the DMs a little bit about what we're going to talk about today, and I can already feel fire burning in my belly about the topics that we're going to talk about.
Me too, definitely.
It's so what I'm passionate about. I mean, I think you can see across all my social media, I'm incredibly passionate about communication,
Absolutely.
but communication done in a neuroaffirming way. And I think that's
right.
what we're going to talk about today.
Yep,
So
that's
what does
right.
that mean to you when I say talking about communication in a neuroaffirming way? Some people will be like, well, how can you communicate not that way? So what does that mean to you?
Exactly. Well, that's really interesting because, as you mentioned, I'm a speech and language therapist. So this is what I do all day long with children. My favorite type of children are the kinds who need that total communication neuroaffirming approach because they're the most exciting to work with. Challenging, head scratching, all kinds of just make your brain work and really fun. But really, it's about honoring the other person. So I know that sounds really sort of big and profound, but it's also very simple. It's just like allowing the other person to be who they are and doing your utmost best that you can to tune into them in whatever way they're communicating. We do this as human beings all of the time. You're doing it right now. I can see you. You're smiling. You're nodding. You're like, it's all what we do all the time. And that's telling me that you're listening. It's telling me that it resonates with you, but you and I are communicating completely differently in spoken language than many, many people do communicate. Some people don't communicate in spoken language at all. And we need to understand and learn the nuances of how to communicate in many different ways. And that is what total communication is all about.
So I suppose let's start from the beginning. Why wouldn't somebody be able to communicate through verbal speech? What are the physical, mental, what are the reasons behind that?
Yeah, there are quite a few. So a lot of the children that I work with that we would be talking about this kind of total communication approach. We also, as you mentioned, neuroaffirming. It's because many of them have neurodevelopmental conditions such as autism, ADHD, and or generally their social communication is an area of difficulty. So for them, understanding how to make this work to do those things and those things come out your how does that work? And it's not because they're not intelligent. It's not because they can't figure it out. Their brain is wired differently. So it's kind of like we're speaking a different language to them, not a language as in spoken language, but a completely different dimension of language, if that makes sense. So it's like even bigger than that. So a lot of children with autism will have difficulty. Many of them process language in different ways. So such as Gestalt language processors, they might process language in big chunks and not really see how does it break down into these little bits of little words and then the sounds. And also as part of that, many of these children will have real difficulty with processing the auditory information that's coming in. So even just processing the sound of someone's voice and all the speech sounds involved in their spoken language makes it almost impossible for them to figure out how to break that down and respond. And then there's also motor planning, like sensory motor planning from the brain to tell the mouth what to do, that it makes that task so onerous for them. They can't actually be able to do that. So they have to use things like eye gaze. So they have to use their eyes to point, or they might be able to still have more gross motor movement so they can point with their finger, even though that is a little bit fine motor, but not quite as fine motor as speech. So all of these things can kind of combine in an individual. And there isn't just one like, oh, that's it. We'll just put our finger on that button, right? That brain cell right there. That's the one. It doesn't work like that. So we have to be able to look at all of the different things that are the barriers, and total communication is about removing those barriers. I mean, I guess another example would be some children with situational mutism, used to be called selective mutism, but it is a phobia around speaking and using your voice. And actually, an AAC device, an electronic device, can sometimes get around that issue for that student, because they can feel more comfortable putting their ideas in, and they're listening to an electronic voice. They're not having to share their own voice. And it's not to replace their communication forever. Obviously, we'd love, and they would probably love, to be able to not have that intense psychological fear of speaking in front of other people. And that's why it's called situational mutism, because
I like that. I haven't heard that term before.
Yeah.
I way prefer it because it's not selective. Almost feels like they're choosing to.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like I'm choosing not to talk to you, but
Yeah.
I'm choosing to talk to you. It's basically, I can speak in front of you, mum, dad, whoever, but I can't speak in front of these other people or in these other situations in terms of environment, location, people that are present. So it can be useful for that, so there's lots of those kinds of reasons why people can't communicate. And I mainly work with children. And most of these things are sort of developmental conditions and things like that. But there's also, we haven't even talked about, trauma, brain damage, an actual insult or injury, stroke, etc., that causes somebody to lose their ability to communicate. And obviously, we want people to be able to communicate their needs no matter what their difficulties are, because they still have value, even if they're not communicating in spoken language, which is, it sounds like, why would a speech therapist say that? Because it's not the right exact, it's more like a communication therapist. I like to think of it as,
I like
it's all about total communication, which is why this is one of my favorite topics. And I'm so glad you decided
you guys should be called communication therapists, because speech is an iota of what you guys cover. You cover so much. Let's talk about that then. What does total communication cover? People have heard communication before. They might have seen symbols before. They might have think, okay, well, you said about something about eye contact. You said something about reaching. What does total communication cover?
Yeah, so we, in terms of being able to provide a total communication environment, we'd look at the whole environment and say, right, we need to be able to offer all these ways that somebody could access somebody else's messages, because that's basically what it is. It's accessing messages from my brain to your brain. And how could I communicate? I could do this. And that I've just given you a nod. I'm agreeing with you, whatever it is. I could do this. I could send you an emoji. All of those things are ways for me to communicate a message to you. So you want to make sure that classrooms, therapy settings, everywhere that this child has access to, especially in the home as well, they have access to all of these different ways and means to communicate. So we offer them by using our spoken language alongside things like Makaton signing, like you said, symbols. It could just be like objects of reference. So a lot of children will bring their cup or plate when they're feeling hungry, and realize that they're really smart. They've figured out that's obviously going to make somebody know I want some food or drink in that item. It's really, it's a no-brainer, really. And what we talk about when we put all those things on offer is we see what they're going to resonate with, because we can't really impose just one. We're not going to go, okay, we've decided we're going to pick signing for you. We're going to pick this for you. No, we can't do that, because we don't know.
Though. I hear that in my messages a lot. A scary amount of saying, actually one yesterday said, I've learned all about Makaton. I think I'm going to change all of our communication symbols to be Makaton symbols, because that's the way we're going to go. And I was like, whoa. Like, that's awesome that you've learned Makaton, but like, you need like other symbols too, or photos or objects, like have it all. But it's just really fascinating to me of like, okay, we've learned this new thing. It feels and sounds good. Like, let's go with that one route. It just, I just found it interesting. But
and I think you're right about thinking about how important it is to learn these different modes, but also having them all on offer to see what somebody will resonate with, and then you can lean in to those specific things for that individual, which may be slightly different from person to person. You might realize
moment to moment as well, right?
Absolutely.
Like you could have a learner that is incredibly eloquent on their AAC, but actually when they're dysregulated, they don't even want to look at it. In fact, maybe they throw it because it's too much. It's the noise of it. I don't know, maybe whatever, triggering. They can't access the visual because when they're dysregulated, they can't see properly. So maybe they actually just need, I've had students before that need just objects at that moment. or not even any choices at all, actually. Often.
But they may just give you their choice, which could be hands in the face, you know.
Exactly. Or use their body to communicate. Exactly.
Yeah, like turning away.
And that doesn't mean they can't. It just means they can't right now. So having those available to you in your environment in all those moments, on those bad days, on those tired days, on those poorly days, will really help as well, so that they can get their needs and wants understood in all those moments.
And I think the key with that is to whatever they come with, that tells you, A, what they can handle in that moment and what resonates with them the most. And you need to honor that by accepting it and supporting them. Right, okay, this is where you're at today. You can only just about manage this. Fine. We're going to go with that. I'm going to help you to make sure that you get what you need. And then we'll worry about, you know, encouraging that signing a different day. We're not going to be like, nope, that's it. I'm not going to give it to you until
Sign more.
You will sign more. I know. More
I've seen it though. We laugh about it, but I see it. I see it all the time. I see a dysregulated child or a bubbly child clearly wanting something, actually making it really obvious what they want, actually. Just maybe not in a safe way, or not in a, I don't know, symbol way.
Yeah, I mean,
and then the adult is making them more dysregulated by saying, give me this, like, or say this,
say that.
Like, for goodness sake, like, they are communicating so clearly. You clearly know what they understand, because you are literally like mirroring what they want.
And I think one of the myths that causes that issue is that if they use a different means more often, they will not use spoken language. It's fear of them. But the flip side of that is, if you only allow spoken, you get this much compared to what their total communication is. That's why it's called total communication, because it's the fullness of what they want to communicate and they can communicate. And also, it's the reasons that we communicate. It's not just asking for things. It could be commenting on things or sharing a moment together. And those things are much, much harder to get a symbol for.
Yes.
You know, so
or a sign,
yeah, exactly. A bit of eye contact, a lovely tone of voice that shows someone I'm enjoying you being around, or alerting an adult that they're not happy, they're dysregulated, something's gone on, or they might be in pain and they can't communicate that, but you can hear the change in the tone of voice. That's really key. So it's about, it all goes back to honoring what they can bring, but providing all of those avenues as well. And I think that's why it's so exciting, because I think I like to be able to go, okay, well, that's not working for you. Fine. We'll try something else. We'll try everything else. We'll literally try anything, because it has to work for that individual. And when they choose something that then they are able to be successful with, they are not going to stop that. They're not going to stop that and go, oh, actually, I've decided I no longer want to speak, because although I can do it. So I've had parents say to me, you know, like, oh, they're just lazy. And I'm like, no, that doesn't exist. That does not exist, because how difficult is it to go and get your object and your symbol and use your body language and bounce up and down and point and gesture, when you could just say book, juice, whatever. It's, if they can get it out quicker, they will. And I think that's where it comes in a little bit of the kind of, well, spoken language is the top. That's the gold standard.
There's like a hierarchy, isn't there?
Yeah. But it's all changing now with technology. I mean, we do so much on technology. We are all AAC users. We text, we voice note. Like I said, we do emojis, all this kind of stuff. GIFs. What is up with that? Like, that's a whole little gestalt right there. You know, if you think about it, it's like a moment with a message, with a video, and something exciting to look. You know, if we're allowed to do that, why are they not allowed to? And I think they should be allowed to use any means that they can, and it will help them to progress and to try different things.
Yeah.
They won't know, and you won't know unless it's offered to give it a try. You really never know.
So
I've been so surprised so many times.
What does it look like to accept that they're, you know, what does it look like? What can it look like in the classroom? What would they be doing? And what does your accepting that communication attempt look like?
Yeah. So I think a lot of times it's about noticing what they're doing before the words might come, or before the, you know, the official mode of the sign or the pointing to something. It's okay, you can see that their body language, and you want to support that. So you want to make sure that their talker is nearby, not in a cupboard, somewhere else. Well, how are they going to use that to communicate? So you want to have all these things available. And there have been many times when I can see that somebody's having trouble. So this is a child who can't understand what's going to happen and maybe why. We may not be able to explain the why, but they're not even understanding what's happening. So we're all we'll just reach for our symbol or on your lanyard. We're like, right, this is what we're talking about. I know you're upset, but this is what we're talking about, and showing them that. So we're responding to them from they're showing that they're upset. We're responding to them in a way that they can't access the spoken language. It's going over their head. It's too much simulation. They're already crying. They're already distressed. So it kind of goes both ways, whether they want to say something or whether you need to communicate something to them. But a lot of times it's accepting, as in acknowledging, noticing, and letting them know that you're there and you understand what they're trying to say. And then maybe going, muddling it back. You're saying you need this. Whatever it is, whether they, or you could sign it. You could say, oh, you want more of, biscuit, whatever it is, you can model it without the expectation that they imitate it straight away. Because I think that's where the thing comes in that can cause problems, where the expectation is there that they model it. Therefore they wait for that prompt in order to do that, because they think that's part of the routine. Not that they're being lazy.
Rigid learn.
They just think it's part of the routine. They think that's what you're supposed to do. That it's not like they're like, I'm just going to sit here and wait, just be lazy. They're not. They think it's part of the routine and that's what's expected. So they wait for that bit and then they do it in the right order. They're trying to follow that rule desperately. So it's that kind of modeling, little bit of pausing, little bit of, expectant waiting, using your visual body language as well, because they might actually be looking at you and going, why the heck is she not doing the thing I need? And you're like, I know what you're trying to say. I know you want this. Let's give it a try. So it is a very fine line. And I always say to parents, like, you can accept it, model it, and then give it straight away so that they've been successful with their small attempt. If they could say it quicker, next time they might say it.
Yeah, so it doesn't feel like a test. We're not testing them. We're not.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, we're not giving them an unreasonable expectation.
That's right.
But maybe just giving them a chance of processing time, a chance to try, a chance to do it. And there's a fine balance there, isn't there? Of long enough to give them a chance, but not long enough that they don't feel heard. It's finding that, and maybe it's different for every child, I assume.
And also, I've said to parents, oh, does he know that word for that thing? And they're like, oh no, if he's never said it. I'm like, well then why would you try and wait for him to say it, to get it? If you know for sure that child's never said that word, then why are we holding out for that? Why don't we just go, oh yeah, dinosaur, whatever it is. And whatever he's using, maybe it's teeth. He's showing the teeth.
Or rap. Yeah.
Exactly. So it has to be something the child that can do in order for you to pause that nanosecond longer, to allow them that process, that time, to give them that, like, this is my cue. I got to do something. I'll try that thing that I tried that time and it worked before. And oh, look, it's worked again, because you're showing them by allowing them to be successful. You're not making them be successful. You're allowing them. And it means you have to wait for them.
It also means you have to use their language just as much as you're expecting them to use ours, right? So their guest start phrases, their animal sounds rather than the animal names, maybe. Their flaps, their stims, maybe. Their reaching, their jumping, that they're excited, that to them is speaking their language. So there's far less pressure on them to fail, because actually, have you ever tried to mimic a vocal stim? It is so difficult. Like, I'm thinking of one particular pupil, and he did this like grrr kind of thing, right at the back of his throat. And me and my team, I was like, let's try and speak his language. And I could not do it. We could not do it.
Struggled
like
myself.
Physically do it. And God, this is exactly what we are asking them to do when we're asking them to sign, when we're asking them to give eye contact, when we're asking them to whatever it is. Like, it just feels, I know what I have to do. I know what I want it to sound like. I can't make my mouth do it. No. And he is an expert in that. He could do it.
Yeah.
And it was just a really lovely reminder of, actually, their language is hard to learn too. And if we kind of try and meet in the middle, meet on that bridge.
Yeah.
Then we it feels more neuroaffirming to me because we're both feeling challenged. We're both
Yeah.
struggling and we're both really trying to hear each other equally,
Yes.
rather than pulling them over to our side of the bridge
Yeah.
fully.
Yeah. I really like that analogy. Yeah.
Are there any communication attempts that you wouldn't accept or that you would maybe react differently to? Or how?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Like, I think I would always accept and notice and acknowledge whatever behavior is coming out. Because that behavior, whether they intentionally mean it to say something to you directly, is giving me information about their mental state, their emotional state, what's going on. And actually it may give me more information that I need to ask more, find out more, to explore with them, because they might not even know. So a lot of the children who are non-speaking will have so much trouble even just feeling the feelings inside their own body from a sensory point of view, and then translating that into some kind of language, of like spoken language or signing or anything. Just, it's almost impossible. And then there's also that sometimes they get overwhelmed by sensory things, they can't tease it out, or they're actually seeking that sensory sensation because their body's not giving them that feedback, so they're trying to get it. So there may be, like, there's definitely been times when children have done something where you realize it's because they're having that unmet need, and they're doing something that you would say that's not safe. And you can tell them. I mean, obviously, if a child's going to, run into a road, you absolutely can't just go, right, I'll just, wait and see what no, like, you have to grab them and go, this isn't safe. But it's things like, biting, or they go to pull your hair. Okay, is that telling you I hate you or want you to die? No, it's telling you I need something and I really can't figure out how to tell you what it
Yeah.
is. Or I might not even know exactly what it is myself, but
Yeah,
I've
or this
got
is
to
the
get something.
quickest way I know to get help or to
Yeah,
get support or to get you out of my space or whatever it is that they are
yeah,
needing at that time.
exactly. And then sometimes you've got to think about combination of things, sort of making them safe, using their language of touch as well. So obviously if they're touching to show, they're upset, whether they're doing something that could be injuring somebody else, you can use your touch in a gentle way, but also you can remove that touch so that it might be that it's too much for them. You have to know your child, and that just comes from spending loads and loads of time with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Because
that's the point, isn't it? It has to come, relationship building has to come first. They have to
that's right.
trust you. So if, you know, ignoring any attempt of communication, however unsafe it could be, or ineffective or inappropriate it could
Yeah,
be on a
yeah,
social
more likely
level.
inappropriate.
Yeah, exactly. However it is, it's still an attempt to meet their needs or be understood, isn't it? That's ultimately what it is. And I've never ever seen malicious or calculated ever. I've worked for 16 years with autistic children. It is always to do with seeking a need, trying to get their needs met, trying to be understood, trying to get the quickest way, like you say, they're not lazy, trying to get the most effective way of creating the environment that they need right
That
there and
they
then.
need
And
right now.
sometimes that looks unsafe and inappropriate, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, I suddenly need to climb super high.
Yeah, yeah, because I just need to get out of here. And
Yeah,
sometimes up is the quickest way out, isn't
yeah,
it? For
yeah,
example, exactly that, exactly that. And it's not well thought out. Sometimes it's just in the moment. I mean, these kids are very present. It's every
yeah,
second by second, isn't it? Especially in my class,
yep.
it's very second by second. But you can acknowledge it with also offering a safer alternative.
That's
Or
right.
or
Yeah,
you can be there for them and show that you're here and ready for them when they're ready, without any verbal, without any physical, without offering anything, just by being there, just your body language in the space, and having had, like I was just saying, having had that strong relationship built before. So when they're
yes,
not in that fight
yep,
mode, you've played together, you've related to each other, you've had those lovely cuddles, tickles, eye contact, like moments, you've built those up so that when these moments do happen where it's maybe inappropriate, maybe safe, maybe hurting behaviors, then you've still built that trust, that you've got that strong
hmm,
foundation that it's the tower's not going to come crashing down. It's okay. We can manage this. This is tiny in comparison to all this wonderful stuff that we've built up.
that's
It's
right.
okay. I'm here for
Yeah,
you. You remember that time just before? I was here for you. I'm here for
yeah,
you
Exactly.
now. So
That,
ignoring behaviors doesn't feel right for me, because
yeah,
ignoring
no. And
says
also what you're
this,
saying is about the memory.
right?
Like, they're going to remember the previous experiences. And we can really underestimate how amazing, how like rich these children's memories are for things that are almost something we wouldn't even be able to articulate ourselves in words, like the memories of the feelings, of experiences, of moments when something has like utterly calmed them, and all of those things. Because if you think about it, they're not spending all of their time putting that into language all the time. That they're just remembering, they're holding it as that like a core memory. This is all I can think of, is like these core memories. And they come back to that. So if every time they do something that could be something you don't really want to happen, or could be unsafe, or could be hurting, if you respond in a really negative way that could be for them scary and actually causing them to be really worried about that situation, then they're only going to ever associate those two things together. So you've got to figure out a way of being close, like you said, with your body, just proximity, just being close to them.
And being
I'm not going to
ready.
leave
Yeah.
you, but I'm going to keep myself safe from you, but I'm going to be available for you. That really is the thing. And I think it's so individual, and like you say, moment to moment, that there's no quick, oh yes, just follow steps 1 to 6.
It's
It
also
doesn't work
so
like that.
hard to not want to just fix it,
I know.
because sometimes it's really hard to understand what they need, and sometimes offering all the choices makes it worse. And it's so hard to see somebody you care so deeply about so stressed and emotional. I mean, God, I'm just a teacher. I don't know how parents manage it. Like,
Mm,
God, that's a whole other level, isn't it? Seeing your most loved person in the world so stressed, so anxious, and not being able to know what to do to fix it, and knowing that even if you attempt it, it's going to make it worse, is just the worst. It's
yeah.
the worst.
Yeah, yeah. And then, then you get all the guilt of like, you've got to get them out of the house and you've got to get them to these things. And it's like, actually, that's not a battle that you want to have to worry about when you're just trying to, both of you,
Just
keep
survive.
yourselves sane and
Yeah.
safe and happy and comfortable and, connected, and not,
Connected. Yeah.
because that's the security that is needed in that moment. And like you said, it comes from that relationship, and it comes from experience of being together and relating in lots of different ways, so that it's safe.
Yeah, an example of this, I'm just aware we're both aware of lots of situations, and I know we can kind of get ahead of ourselves a little bit. So if people are listening, kind of what I'm talking about, and I don't know if you'd agree actually, Marissa, it'd be interesting to see what you think about this. We had a pupil in my class who was headbanging a lot, and we weren't sure if it was pain, or migraines or seizures even, or we weren't sure if it was communication. And after observing for a few months of this, it was clear it was communication. It was when there was an unmet need, or when we weren't going fast enough, when they needed to wait, or when it was a no, or when there was a barrier in place for whatever reason. So it was communication. We ruled out pain, because I think it's always important to work out if there's a medical need. So we ruled out pain. We had the approval from GPs, pediatricians, that it wasn't pain, it's communication. So we thought, okay, right, great. And what they wanted was to be swaddled and wrapped. That's what they wanted. And the quickest way to get our attention was to headbang both fists in the temples really hard. And of course we came running. Of course you do, because you want to fix it. Like I was just saying, you want to fix it. But all this was doing was, it was reinforcing, this is the fastest way and the most effective way that you can get us.
Yeah.
So what we had to do as a team was act really fast, like emergency. It is like, let's go. When she first looked at the swaddle blanket, or when she started moving towards the swaddle blanket before she'd done the hitting, or when she was just doing a slight little flicker of the finger. I mean, this means you need to know the children so well,
That's
because
absolutely it.
there's tiny little moments we were noticing just before, and we would try and treat those as way more emergent than the head banging, because then that told her, if you gesture, or if you come and get us, or if you reach for your blanket, that's an even faster and more effective way of getting us to help you than the head banging. So it's been 18 months now, and now she will walk over to her blanket, she'll pick it up, She will walk and find the nearest adult, sometimes even the child in our class, and hold it up and wait like this. And it's only because we were so consistent and tried to be so understanding, so vigilant with her cues, and tried not to fix. We tried so hard. We believed ourselves. We trusted ourselves. I trusted our gut. But actually, she didn't want to be hurting herself either. We know she didn't. It was just the most effective way. And now looking at her, like, I just couldn't be prouder. I really couldn't. Like on Friday, she got through the whole day and there was no self-harm at all. And she had the best day, and I could just tell she feels so understood because her needs are met. So I think when we're talking about total communication, that has to come into it too, that we acknowledged her communication attempt, however unsafe it was. We saw it as communication. We saw it as really important. And then we worked as a team to help her find an even more effective way. But it didn't feel nice at first, I have to say. It really didn't. Because there were moments where where she was hitting herself and we were stood there with the blanket, just waiting until she put her hands down and then went, blanket, you did it, blanket.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was really hard. We had to really trust ourselves to know that, like, she's going to get this. And the team had to trust each other too, because if a few people wavered, it would only reinforce that, the best way you can do is self-harm, which is so hard. And we're teachers as well. Like, the parents were incredible as well. Parents were doing it. Everyone was doing it around her, was trying to acknowledge these tiny little things that she was doing beforehand.
And those little tiny things were those little tiny bits of communication that she was able to do prior to that. Because for her, it was quite quick. For her, it was like, I need it and I need it now. Like,
or maybe for her it was really bubbling, but for us it looked like it went from 0 to 60 in seconds. But maybe for her, she could feel it, but it took that long to.
Yeah,
it almost
for her to get. Yes, exactly, to get to that point.
Yeah.
So you helped her kind of to the point where she can even develop her awareness, so that she can plan so far ahead that she can go and get it and go and bring it.
It's incredible.
I mean,
and not only that, so now that's the blanket, but now she does it with the cup. Now she does it with snack. Now she does it with object of reference. Now she does it with her chair. She does it, and she will do it with that. She's using a Go Talk. So like AAC, digital AAC. She's started to use it with that, and it's like, God, this, just by acknowledging those attempts, it has shown her that, she can communicate and be understood. Because before that, the only way she could be understood was hurting herself. And she didn't want to hurt herself. I mean, think how desperate a person has to be understood, and not lazy, to be understood, to hurt yourself to the extent that finally people come and listen to me. I mean, gosh. And this isn't an isolated case. I mean, most of my messages are about very similar situations, and the teachers are trying to fix it quickly without actually thinking of the why.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've highlighted one of the key things there. She's now got multiple means of communicating. She'll bring the blanket, she'll bring the cup, she'll bring the objects of reference, but she's also starting to use a talker that she can communicate with, where she can do that as well. It may be that when she's feeling that dysregulation, she will literally just grab the blanket, and that's fine. Because
it's equal.
It's equal. It's absolutely equal. It's not like, but now that you can press buttons on your talker, now you have to go and get the talker and then go to page with the blanket on it. No, you can just bring the blanket.
We do. So we get her, we wrap her in the blanket, and then we get her talker and we sign blanket on her talker. But that's not a barrier to her getting the blanket. She's already wrapped in it. She's got it.
Yeah, but you're just modeling.
Then we model, So it's almost like, accept the communication attempt, meet the need, and then once they're like got their needs met. So if it's drink, okay, I'm reaching for the cupboard, I'm reaching for orange juice, or maybe I'm going to climb onto the worktop. I get that a lot, to get the orange juice, because that's how I'm going to ask for it. That's the most effective way of getting what I want. Okay, do you go and get their iPad and sign orange juice and then make it, or do you make it and then sign it. I mean, I would make the orange juice and then I would show
Well,
it
and
on
also,
the
like,
bag.
I would use what you have to hand. I'd be signing, drink at the
Speaking,
same time, and then
right.
get the talk around. And so that is a way of you saying, I'm allowing all of these forms of communication. They're all equally accepted. And therefore, I want to give you the opportunity to use what you can when you can.
Yeah, and maybe put something else in place, like where they normally climb onto the
That's
worktop.
right.
Maybe put a sound button on there, or maybe put a symbol, or maybe
That's
put
it.
a
Yeah.
voice
It's about
activated
being
something.
creative. I mean, you're
You have to
looking
be
at,
so creative, don't you?
yeah, you're looking at like, that's where they climb. Okay, well, let's look at the situation. And part of that is part of total communication as well, which is, it's all about tuning in. And if you really have
Yeah.
to pay attention, and you have to like kind of chuck your own agenda out the window and go, right, I'm going to tune into you first, and then we're going to work our way towards. And that's the best way that I've ever found.
So from right at the beginning, you said it starts with observation, and I hope that after you've listened to this, so September, you've listened to this, maybe got a new class, maybe you've got a couple new students in your class. I really hope that next time you're in your class or in your home, you sit back and you observe what they are communicating, or what they're not able to communicate, like just climbing on the worktop and getting their drink, or then they didn't attempt to communicate with you but they're still trying to find their needs. So you've observed that, and then the next question is, what can I put in place in order to make that easier for them to
That's right.
access that or communicate
And
that?
also something that gives them the opportunity to communicate, because if they haven't got a symbol and they're non-speaking, how are they going to get you to get the drink? They're like, well, I'm just going to get the quickest way to do it. We should be honoring the very cleverness of going, that's how to problem solve. I mean, that is the solution, right?
Yeah.
So I think, I've seen a lot of times where it's like, oh, no, we don't climb on cupboards. It's like, that's not the aim. The aim was
To
the
get the
juice.
drink.
We're doing,
Yeah.
it's the thing at the top.
I mean,
And everybody knows that.
sometimes that is the aim, but just in this
Yes,
situation.
also that can be the aim. And then we go, and you need to
And now we need
climb. Let's
climbing.
do some climbing.
Exactly. I suppose the only thing we need to be careful about when we're saying, like, I can't remember what you just said. You didn't say, let's not make it easy. You said, you said, let's create opportunities. The only thing that doesn't mean, and I need to be really clear about this, is purposefully putting barriers in place to force communication. So I just need to be really careful, really clear about that. I know that's not what you meant at all. I know that.
No,
But I just don't want people to hear create opportunities, because not that long ago, 10 years ago in my career, I was putting snack in lidded clear boxes.
That's right.
And getting children to give eye contact to open it. Like, there is no way. I shudder at the thought, but I did it. And lots of us did it because that was what we were taught back then. That is also putting in opportunities to communicate. However, that is not total communication, because that child was already reaching for the snack, or that child was already, I don't know, guiding me to the box. That was enough. That should have been enough for me to open the packet for them and give
meet
them
the need, and
one.
then model like you said.
And then model it.
And that's how it's changed, I think, over the last decade. I really think that it has changed a lot from what is common practice. Obviously, not everybody's doing the same things. I think there are still a lot of more traditional, old-fashioned kind of ways of doing things that people are slowly making changes. But change takes time. I mean, even your example of your student who the way that you described it is like, she really struggled with that, and now 18 months later, we need to think about what that means, right? So what often people will think is, well, you're going to start to fix something and tomorrow it's going to be different. We're celebrating that it was 18 months later and she's now doing this is her pace that she can handle and what was needed. So we really need to stop imposing our
agenda, timeline.
Our timelines, because we really don't know. And it's one of the questions that, as a speech therapist, I get a lot from parents. When is it going to happen? When are they going to talk? When are they going to communicate more? When are they going to start doing this?
How do you navigate that? Because I have questions like that, and I want to have high expectations of my students, but because I see communication as equal, my aim is for them to be able to communicate effectively, whereas often the parents' aim is to get them to speak. And I really struggle to answer that question without just simply saying, I just want them to communicate, and whether that's, however that is, but I know that's not what they want to hear.
Yeah, I know. And I think you're right. And I think there's two things that I often say. Like, first of all, I will say, I don't know, because I'm not going to lie. I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm actually, it's so weird that I'm genuinely almost surprised when it does happen. And you're like, oh, even though I've been trying at this for like, as you say, 18 months, and it's finally worked. And we surprise ourselves. Like, they surprise us. And we're like, of course it works, because we did try all the things. But it's a wonderful moment. But like, I think also that if we change what the goal is, right? If we go not just the spoken language bit, which is just here, if we bring it out, ripple it out, what do they really, really want? Because actually, what they really want is to have a relationship with their child. That's what they really want. And you can get that whilst you're working on all kinds of communication, and you can still value that. And I think that's where the thing is. And there is a sense of like, maybe they might not use full just spoken language and get rid of all these other things. Maybe they'll use this, talker. They might use some sign. They might use some spoken language, but it might not be massively clear. But you might be able to then use it within your family. Others might struggle, which is why they still need these additional supports in place. But it might be that they do all of those things forever. And I do say that to parents. It may be that they are a total communicator for life. And there's not like they're going to pick one and they're going to go, right, that's my favorite mode, I'm going to only use that mode. We don't do that either. It's just that we are in a predominantly speaking world.
Yeah.
Us speakers, that is.
Yeah, I think they want to hear from me that it's at least possible.
Yes. And I would always say it's possible, because honestly,
it's
I
so
would
hard though,
never
isn't it?
give
Because I
up.
don't want them. No, absolutely. But I also don't want that to be the sole aim, because I
That's
think
right.
then you're losing sight of what really matters to the child. Like, is the child's main aim to be speaking? I don't know. Not always, actually. Probably their main aim is to be understood more
That's
often.
right.
So I
Yeah.
think it's better to like maybe have goals aimed at what the child
Yeah. And
wants.
actually, if you talk to any adult who's looking after a child in any capacity, they're going to say, oh, I want them to feel like they're understood and valued as a human being.
Yeah,
And actually, you
course.
can achieve that without getting to that. So if we can bring it back to those really fundamental goals that are underneath.
Yeah. It just feels quite ableist, doesn't it? For your absolute hope, wants and wishes to be speaking. It's almost like your hopes, wants and wishes to be walking, for
That's right.
an ambulant student.
Yes.
Like
Well,
it feels unfair, doesn't it?
that's
That
right.
should be the be all and end all. That should be the ultimate hope and dream.
Right.
It just feels a bit ableist to me. And
Yeah.
actually, I'd love to be living in a world where everyone sees it as literally equal. And they come down to the fundamentals of, I want a
That's right.
relationship. I want them to feel understood. I want them to feel fulfilled in life. I want them to be
Right.
safe and all of this. And that's not having low expectation.
No.
Genuinely not. It really isn't. It's just about, thinking about person first and what they actually want.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. And I think that's one of the things that whole struggle for parents and people like yourselves, educators, speech therapists, who are working day in, day out with children and loved ones who they really want that connection with. They really want that communication. And there is something out there that obviously we've talked about already, which is high-tech AAC devices. And it's like that. We're in such an exciting time of life right now, because technology has moved like so quickly. When I was younger, nobody had cell phones. I know. There you go. I'm American. I'm out of myself now. Sorry. Nobody had the mobile phones, right? Now we have mobile phones. We can connect to anybody. We can use all these means to communicate, right? And that hasn't quite caught up to mainstream non-speaking children. But like you say, it is moving in that direction. You've got children who use objects and symbols and just all these.
It's only going to get
robust
more
AAC.
affordable as well, isn't it? More accessible,
Absolutely.
more
It's
affordable.
so different now. Yeah. And I think this would probably be a good time for me to talk about the campaign.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've got an AAC campaign, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
It's called Let Them Have Their Voices. And we basically started it, myself and Dan Harris, who is the founder of Neurodiversity in Business. We met via social media because he's got a son who is called the Joshy Man, and he's a non-speaking autistic boy. He's 11. And he uses a talker to communicate. Now, he only got this a few years ago. Prior to this, he had situations where he was really frustrated, like your students, like you've talked about, and like some of my students that I've worked with. And they obviously were trying all these total communication things. And what they found was that there are actually a lot of barriers around access to these devices, which, as you say, they are more affordable now. So they should be something that is readily available, but we still haven't caught up from that kind of, from a infrastructure from the government and the NHS and all of that. So his parents purchased a device for him, got him some software, and they've worked with their speech and language therapist, and they've got him using it. It's brought on so much communication, not just through the talker. He's now spelling. He's now using his voice more, saying a lot of words, approximating a lot of words that may be hard to understand sometimes by some people, but he's trying everything. And I had an experience with a client of mine who inspired me in that way. So that's how I kind of met Dan. And I was talking about this client I was working with, and he was talking about his son, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And we were sitting there like, well, what are we going to do about it? We can't just sit here complaining about it. Well, what are we going to do about it? Okay, let's do something about it. Okay. And then we did. So it was November last year. We said, well, we'll just start this campaign. Let's raise some money. Let's just start with that. We'll raise some money. We'll get people to, we'll get companies to donate some iPads. We'll get the funds in, and we'll purchase software, put it on them, get people to apply so that they can work with their local team, whoever they've got, teachers, speech therapists, parents, carers, all of that, to help them get this, to try it out. Because what we found was, and we did some research around, like, we did some surveys with parents and carers, and it was heartbreaking, and also with speech and language therapists about these barriers. And, you know, on the one hand, you have the, we've managed to get it, it's amazing, our life has changed, absolutely changed things. That doesn't mean the child is like reciting sonnets on their AAC. That's not what it means. It means they could be saying, I like pink, it's healthy, pizza please, you know, more tickles. It could be that. That's the life changing they're talking about. And on the other hand, you have the current, like, the kind of the way that the criteria is. Sometimes the process is that you've got to sort of demonstrate that you can do a lot more. But these children haven't got to that point of doing the whole sentence within. But if you think about it, that's also imposing our spoken language format.
Some of the barriers, I'm seeing it in my class. So one of the barriers to get the AAC in our county is they need to show distance and persistence. So it means they need to travel and transition across an area to a person with something to communicate. Now, with an iPad that speaks for you, even with spoken, you wouldn't have to do that. You could shout and be communicated and heard.
That's
you wouldn't have to show distance and persistence. And I'm blessed enough to have everyone's got an iPad in my room because we've fundraised for them.
Yeah.
But it's proven to us that those children that weren't showing distance and persistence have shown great skills and progress.
That's right.
With the high-tech AAC. So it's poppycock.
It's not it's not a prerequisite from a clinical or evidence-based practice. It's just currently it's a prerequisite for the funding aspect of things. But we want all that to change. So we are not hoping to raise all the funds for all the people that will ever need AAC, because that's not the solution. The solution is to change the system so that it works
from the foundation. Yeah,
that's it. So we're just trying to help in the meantime to show, oh my goodness, look at the difference. Because a lot of people don't realize, like you and I see these kinds of people all the time. And this is our.
So what does the campaign look like? What are you doing? How can people find out more about it? How can people get involved?
Okay, so excitingly, we have literally today, Dan Harris, father of the Joshy Man. Joshy is amazing. You can follow him on Instagram. I will put all the details in the show notes for you, or wherever you put them. Definitely include this. But anyway, Joshy Man. So Dan delivered a letter to 10 Downing Street to push this issue, but also off the back of, you know, this, he's actually just come back from earlier doing giving evidence for at the House of Lords for the 2009 Autism Act, committee. So basically he talked about the non-speaking autistic population, and then we started talking about the campaign, and that had some really positive kind of impact. So from that side of things, we're talking to the right people. We're raising little bits of money. We definitely need more. But what we want to do is make the most change that we can. And I think what we'd love is for people to check out our website, which is freetalker.org. There's a lot of information about AAC, about the campaign, about our socials and stuff like that. We're a very small, teeny tiny team of very passionate people, mostly teachers, speech therapists, parents, all round passionate, crazy people that cannot sit by and wait for somebody else to do it. So we are doing our little bit in our little part of the world. However, the campaign has actually been able to donate devices in other countries as well. So we've got USA, Dan's off to Brazil soon. We really want to make a big change. We know it's going to happen. We know, because obviously everybody's using the telephone now, right? So, and we all have smartphones and we all have Alexas in our house, that kind of thing.
It's coming.
So it is going to happen, but we just want to keep pushing that forward and we don't want to stop, because in the meantime, we could be missing all these amazing people and what they've got
which
to
isn't
say.
good enough.
And absolutely no. So and the reason it's called Let Them Have Their Voices is we're not giving them a voice. They've got a voice. We just need to be able to listen to it in a way that we can understand it. And having that AAC, like you said, these students weren't able to go across the room, but yet they can tap it and go, gosh. And because they've got that immediate feedback, because it's such a nice, it's like cause and effect feeling of tapping that thing, hearing that noise, that gives them that patterned routine that they need to feel confident with the kind of process. And that is evidence-based.
And the voice is the same every time.
Work.
Yeah, exactly. It's so autism friendly, isn't it? It screens, there's no eye contact needed. The voice is the same every time, so it's predictable. It's all of that. Yeah. Yep. I can totally see why it works. And if in the meantime, obviously check them out. And if in the meantime you're interested to communicate with your child, but you can't afford an iPad or an app, don't let that be a barrier. There are loads of great organizations out there. You can go to your speech and language therapist, you can go to your GP, you can use low-tech AAC, just use something. Use objects around you, use photos, anything. It's okay. It's like we said before, it's all equal.
That's it.
It's just about having everything accessible as even an option. And that's what this is about, isn't it? It's having it as an option.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Marissa. This has been so important. I would love everybody to head over to the all the stuff in the description in the show notes to check you out, the campaign, Joshi, all of it. And thank you so much. We haven't spoken this deeply about total communication before, and it's really needed. So thank you.
I'm so glad. Yeah, anytime. It is literally my favorite topic, even though I'm definitely a speaker.
Yeah,
I also use my face. I'm using my face. It's so important. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been a great conversation, and I really hope that it's helpful for your listeners. I really do.
I know it will be. Yeah. Thank you so much, Marissa.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.